You don't get a different kind of animal coming from one animal. What you get at most are changes that are presently not fully understood in terms of the genetics of reproduction. But you don't get a different kind of animal on anybody's theory coming from another animal. Goldschmidt's ideas have been abandoned long ago.
Okay, then to follow up on that same topic, what is the best evidence you know of that demonstrates any animal ever did change to another kind of animal? What is the best fossil evidence you would say you have? Just give us the best one, please.
I reject the question because one animal doesn't change into another animal.
No, what is the best fossil evidence? You said fossil evidence is evidence that fossil record is evidence that there's been change. What fossil is evidence that there's been change? Which particular one?
You can't argue for change on the basis of one fossil. You look at the sequence of fossils. One fossil doesn't tell you anything.
Okay, so did the snail sequence that you showed the audience, was that what you consider your best evidence, that these snails with different number of lines on them?
Evidence for what?
Is evidence for change through time?
I use that example as evidence that these could not have been laid down by a worldwide flood. It certainly is evidence for change, but it's nobody's best evidence.
Are you aware that nearly all of those types of snails with different types of lines, different number of lines on them, are still alive today?
Yeah, it's quite possible.
So how can they be used as evidence for evolution? They're all still alive.
I use them as evidence against a worldwide flood. I reject your definition of evolution in the first place. They are evidence, partial evidence, for the hypothesis of common descent.
Has anyone ever tried putting all of those types of fossils, since they are snails, since they are still all alive, has anyone ever tried putting them in a liquefaction, in a hydraulic tank and see if they do sort?
You're welcome to try.
Okay. If I could demonstrate they would indeed sort into separate layers just based on their shell shape, would that cause you to abandon using that as evidence?
For that particular case, sure.
Good, thank you.
Write it up.
Okay.
This is the first debate I've moderated. I don't know if I'm losing control or not, but if you guys are open to the back and forth, it's fine with me. But whatever's agreeable to both of you, because like I said, I'm a rookie at this. Well, now, Dr. Hofmann, you get to ask Dr. Hovind a question.
I guess I don't have one particular question in mind. I am curious, though. One criticism of young Earth creationists is that they're not willing to revise what they say in light of criticism. I just want to test this out on you. In past lectures like this, you've said, for example, that scientists have dated lava from Hawaiian volcanoes at 22 million years. Would you be willing to revise that in light of some evidence I gave you?
Oh, I will revise my presentation at any time in light of any scientific evidence. I'm not God for sure. I am related. He's my father, but I would never claim that I have any hold on truth. And the evolutionists and the critics have been a great help to sharpen my presentation. So I'm willing to change anything if you can demonstrate it. Yes, sir.
Well, could I do that?
Oh, yes, please show it.
Okay. Well, the case that we're talking about is some lava that came out of a volcano in Hawaii at about 1801. And the claim was made that, well, scientists dated this lava and found that it was 22 million years old. Now, it turns out, if you read the article that was cited, the scientists, first of all, were doing an experiment in this case to test a particular hypothesis. They dated the lava itself and came up with an age of roughly 0, in other words, virtually nothing. But they also tested some of the inclusions in the lava. Sometimes some minerals are not liquefied, and so they end up in the lava like raisins in a pudding. In this case, it's olivine. And olivine is in that lava, and so what they wanted to do was to test two alternative approaches to the olivine, wondering if potassium-argon dating could be accurately used on these olivine inclusions. And the one hypothesis was that, well, it probably can't be because at those temperatures, olivine is going to allow some of the argon to escape. It's going to get hot enough not to completely liquefy, but let some of the argon escape, and so you're going to get a wild range of bad dates, because the dating procedure requires that the system remain closed. You can't date it if some of the daughter product is getting out. So they tested it, and sure enough, they got dates all over the place because the olivine apparently was heated hot enough so that it lost some of its argon. So to say that that case shows that radiometric dating is flawed because they dated the lava and got 22 million years when it was only 200 years old, I don't think that should be included in presentations anymore.
Okay, this is probably what you're referring to. It's on my video number 7. 1801 Hawaiian lava flow dated at 1.6 million years old with potassium argon dating. Since you seem to be admitting that there are things that will greatly, radically alter the accuracy of potassium argon dating, like if the sample was heated or not heated, will certainly determine it.
No, if the system is no longer a closed system.
If the system is no longer a closed system, okay. If there's an open system, how could you possibly know that any dates beyond human observation are accurate? I mean, it seems like somewhere long ago and far away they could have been an open system for some time. My question, I guess, would be, how can we know any of the dates are accurate? Since you admit there are things that do influence it, how do you know which ones are right, how do you know which ones to accept?
That's a consistency argument. I would like to recommend a group to all of you. I think it's called the it's the Affiliation of Christian Geologists. You can find them from my website. The Affiliation of Christian Geologists. And these men and women make a living doing geology, and they are Christian. And they have a feature there where you can send in a question on their website, any question you want, including this one, and they'll answer you. They're very quick, too. I've had my students send them questions, and they'll respond relatively quickly. The consistency of radiometric methods is one that is something that has to be studied in some detail. You can't simply make a decision on the spur of the moment. But out of the thousands and thousands of dates, there are very few which don't fall into a general pattern. And neither of us up here are scientists, so I don't think it's appropriate for either of us to try to get into technical details on how those procedures are carried out. But I would advise you to talk to some professional Christian geologists and see what they say.
Stephen Austin is such a professional Christian geologist down at San Diego down here. He and many others have dated the lava dome that is building now in Mount St. Helens. They took a sample in 1982. Here's the dates they got from that lava dome and the reference to the work. Anywhere from 350,000 years to 2.8 million years. This is known to be 18 years old. I think it's been demonstrated over and over that lava and volcanic ash and tuff, it gives wild dates all over the scale and cannot be trusted.
These methods aren't intended to be used on lava. They can't be used on lava.
Well,
dating methods only date since the last solidification of the rock.
Well, this was solidified. You can go get a sample right now of the solidified lava from the Mount St. Helens dome, and it will not give you the correct age of 18 years.
As I just explained a few minutes ago, there's reasons for that.
You said the way you know the ones that are right is because of consistency. I'm showing you they're not consistent. So how do you know which ones are right?
You have to be a geologist and look at what is actually being dated. You don't simply date the lava. If there are inclusions, if the lava is dated itself, you are going to get different results. Again, we're not going to settle this here. What I encourage you to do is study this further and talk to people with a broad range of backgrounds.
Okay, but as a philosopher, I would want you to see or admit that you do see a philosophical problem here. Since so many dates are obviously wrong, how can we know which ones are correct? I mean, in a court of law, this wouldn't hold up for 3 seconds.
No, the short answer is there are not very many wrong ones. Richard Wines, a Christian geologist, has a nice article on the web in which he looks at Woodmarap's list of 350 so-called bad dates, which represent maybe 3 to 5% of the total number of dates we have. Included in that list of so-called bad dates are dates which were known to be determined using inappropriate methods, as the one we just referred to having to do with the volcanoes.